Hey everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode. Wow, that fucked it up already. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me, as always, are my good buddies.
Yo everybody, it's Nate.
Hey, it's Willie. How's it going?
And this week, we kind of like fucked with time and space, but not really. I don't know how. I guess it was an interdimensional foreplay. Yeah, there you go. Now okay, let's just start off with some fucked up shit. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? If you could like shoot a portal gun kind of under your bed and then like reach in from the other room and like fondle your girl's butt. And then she could try to chase you and you could just pull your arm out and shoot the portal and then she'd have to come get you, but then you could just portal away and she could never actually catch you. It'd be like Scooby-Doo running through doors and shit. It'd be fun.
Just thinking about that scene from The Watchmen when Dr. Manhattan clones himself and his wife is not into it.
I don't think I've seen The Watchmen, but I know Dr. Manhattan was the one with the big swinging dick, right?
That is, he was especially famous for that in the movie, yeah. So the movie was a really, for the most part, very literal frame-by-frame or panel-by-panel adaptation of the comics until towards the end when they started changing some story beats. I thought it was pretty well executed. A lot of people didn't like it because they thought it was too much, let's just make the comic book into the movie, so... I don't know, read the book sometime. It was good. It was worth reading.
But isn't that what people always complain about? Is that the movies stray too far from the source material?
Can't win, man. You just can't win.
Yeah.
I literally thought you were going to say that it was faithful to the comic up until his big flopping cock came out, and then it was like, oh, it's gone away from there.
He was circumcised in the comic book. They messed it all up.
Oh man. Before I forget, I would like to give a shout out and a thank you to the newest Patreon member, Dr. Matt Barton. Now, I'm hitting my microphone because I'm all flustered about this. Now, if you don't know who Matt Barton is, he wrote the book Dungeons and Desktops, which is actually, they released a Dungeons and Desktops second edition, which is basically all about computer RPGs and how they've evolved over the years, from Ultima all the way up till Pillars of Eternity. You know, they cover like this big history of gaming, and I'm definitely going to be getting that book. Even before he became a Patreon, like I've been a fan of his. He does a show on YouTube called MattChat, where he started it. Dude, he started his YouTube channel back in the day when you were limited to 10 minutes. Like, I remember those days, and it sucked when you wanted to put up something that was a little longer, and you literally couldn't until you released a certain number of videos, and then I think they bumped you up to 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. So, like, as you watch his stuff, it gets progressively longer. But he would bring in these developers. Willie, I believe I sent you one where he was...
Yes, the ones with John Romero, man.
Yeah.
That was a great interview.
And it was cool to hear John Romero talk about, like, his successes, and then to hear him talk about Daikatana, which wasn't a success, even though, like, apparently in retrospect, like, that game's not as bad as people said it was, but it's not what it could have been. And
I've heard that there's a fan patch that actually does kind of make it pretty good, but what I liked is Romero didn't sound all that apologetic about the game. There were some things he said, you know, marketing shouldn't have run the famous ad. That wasn't his idea, and
yeah.
You know, but like he's like, you know, I had some ideas. Not everyone liked him, but I liked the idea of making the AI, you know, equal in ability to the player, things like that. No, I appreciate that he kind of stood by his guns there.
Yeah, for sure. It made me laugh when he brought up the marketing, and he's like, I would literally never say that. He's like, they told me that I should be John Romero's going to make you his bitch. I would never make anybody my bitch. He's like, I might cut your head off and feed you to a demon, but I'm not going to make you my bitch.
But dude, that is definitely one of the most memorable ads of all time, especially in gaming.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's also just because of how it all ended up going down in the end too, though.
I mean, it kind of makes a good punchline for the game, because once the game doesn't make you its bitch, then you get to go, ah, ha, 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 ha. But, like, the game had a huge lot of promise to it. It was, I was going to say it's the Duke Nukem Forever of its day, but I think they were probably developed partially at the same time, because both of them took, like, 15 damn years to make.
There was an interesting interview that he did, too, with Brian Fargo, which is one of the guys who worked on Fallout and Wasteland. And he asks, like, Matt asks him in the midst of the interview, like, what would you have done for Wasteland 2? And you can kind of start seeing the gears going in Brian Fargo's head about like what he would have done nowadays with Wasteland 2, and then he ended up making and releasing Wasteland 2 like after that. And
awesome.
And now I've got Wasteland 3 sitting in the backlog waiting for us to play, which I might choose that if it doesn't ever get voted for. That might be one I'd choose because it's cool. It's like the OG Fallouts. Like that's how it kind of plays. Like
I haven't played a Fallout game, but I do understand that the first two were like isometric and very traditional RPG before they brought in all the first-person perspective FPS elements in 3.
You've never ever like any of them?
I haven't either.
No, nope. He's just gawping, by the way. I know that you can't hear it, listeners, but he's just kind of looking at me like
he's
like a very
he's shocked.
disappointed
He can't
dad.
believe what he's hearing.
Oh my god!
Computer RPGs, I didn't like the ones I played were weird ones. I've never got into a lot of the main ones. Like, you should. I mean, you've said you didn't play Baldur's Gate, right? So like, we got some catching up to do.
Funny you mentioned that. I started Baldur's Gate 2 the other night.
Oh, nice.
I spent 2 hours creating my party. About 10 minutes making how they looked and all that, and about I don't know, a good 30 minutes each. Maybe 20 minutes each. Clicking re-roll on stats until I had a good stat roll that I could work with.
That sounds like me whenever I started playing Wizardry 7 on the PC back in
I
the
was
day.
just about
I would
to.
not start playing the game. I would just re-roll for like hours.
Yeah.
Literally, because like in Wizardry 7, you don't even get all your character classes if you get a bad enough stat roll. So you're like, I'm going to re-roll until I can get an assassin or a lord or whatever, because they had high minimum stats, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was actually about to bring up Wizardry too, because that re-rolled the hell out of that game.
I believe that Wizardry 6, 7, and 8 are on the list.
That'd be interesting
that'd be
to
cool.
revisit. I would not mind seeing Wizardry 7 again.
Because I think 6 and 7 was bundled together, and then 8 was a separate thing. I think that's how I got it.
We got 7 separately, but 7 was a direct sequel to 6. Like, you can drop off your party from Wizardry 6 in Wizardry 7 and start the game that way.
I always love games like that. So then we would have to play 6 first, because that's just the way I am. Where it's like if I can continue a party through like Dragon Age, you can carry your main character through each of the Dragon Age games. So it's like, damn it, I want to play those in order. Yeah. Okay. So, but oh my God, you've never played a Fallout game like. Now,
I've listened to Fallout Boy.
Well, dance, we're falling and something to halftime, whatever the fuck they said. I've never played the first 2 Fallouts, other than dabbling with them to see what they looked like. So, like, the isometric ones I'm not so familiar with, but 3... Oh, go ahead.
I would say it's very much like a Grand Theft Auto type situation where no one plays the first 2 and you just jump in.
Yeah, 3 was my first one on PS3, and blew me away. And then I played New Vegas, so I played New Vegas on PS3, and it was really good, but buggy as fuck.
That's kind of what I heard, is people like it, but it has the most, this game has a Bethesda engine feeling in the series.
Yeah, but see, that's the great thing about us going to be playing it on PC, is there's this wonderful thing called the community patch mod.
Yeah.
And it fixes all of that. It makes it a stable, wonderful experience, and it's great.
Yeah, it's
New
definitely
Vegas
one of
is
those
probably
series I've always been curious about, like that and like BioShock or a couple series that are huge that I never got to play any. So like, there's definitely series out there that we're going to get to that I'm going to be really excited to play.
And I think it'll be interesting because I left Fallout 4 on the list because of how my mod list fucked it up. Like, because that was before I knew how to mod correctly. And so I had left that on there. So that's going to come up again eventually one day.
Nice.
And it's interesting to the Fallout games, the further you go back in them, the more RPG-like they get. And the further you go forward, the more first-person shooter-like. Like, Fallout 4 is a better first-person shooter than it is an RPG, in my opinion. But New Vegas is fantastic. But, yeah, so everybody, I'll put a link in the show notes, if I remember, to MattChat. Go check him out. It's good stuff. Very informative. If you like RPGs like I do, it's going to tickle your fancy, more likely than not. And he also looks like my friend Todd about 15 years in the future. To the point that I sent it to Todd, and Todd was like, holy shit. So yeah. Couple other things that I noticed this week. One, gentlemen, I have been having a blast playing some Rocket League with you guys.
Yeah.
I have noticed and learned that while playing Rocket League, I should just give up on having a conversation because like we are focused on playing, and it's like when I bring up something to talk, it is like immediately like, don't shut up, go left. Oh, okay, that's okay. Let me get,
I can talk while I'm playing. It's just I'm going to keep calling stuff out while I'm playing because I have weirdly try hard comms for like a platinum player.
Willie is very much a team captain in Rocket League.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
like to tell people where I'm going to be so like they can make their decisions.
That's why I was like, Willie, breathe. And you're like, I don't need to breathe. I only need Rocket League. Which was a great response. But like,
the only air I need is the stuff you go up through when you rocket boost, baby.
In my case, that's bubbles.
I love that stuff. I love a cute trail.
But that's...
I mean, almost all my cars use thermal because I'm a nerd, but, you know, I like the cool boosts.
That, like, put me in the mood for racing games, like the driving aspect of it. So I've been fucking around with a few different racing games that I've got. I've fallen on Grid 2 that I think has hooked me enough that I'm going to play it more than just a couple races. I'm having a blast with it. I also started playing Euro Truck Simulator 2. Way funner than I thought it would be. I just like had some wrestling on my side screen and was just driving from Sheffield to Manchester doing deliveries and stuff. And I want to ask Mike, shout out Mike Factory Sealed, Factory Sealed Retro Video Game Podcast. He is a truck driver in Europe. Like he lives in England and is a lorry driver, as they call it over there. And I want to ask him if the pay scale is real for some of these jobs that I'm doing. I'm like, dude, you don't have to tell me exactly what you make, but in general, I just got paid like $7,000 to drive halfway across the country, and I know the country's not really that big, so I'm just curious if like you really getting $7,000 for driving 6 hours, because that's wild. I'm in the
truck
wrong.
Driving does pay well for a very physical and demanding job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, 4,000 of those dollars are because you had to go to Wales, unfortunately. I don't know if we have any Welsh listeners, but I just figured I should. While we're making people feel bad.
There goes our 2 people in Wales.
I want to go to Wales one day. It sounds like a really cool country. I tried to learn the language once. It's impossible.
I tried to learn Finnish. I think it was Finnish. It might have been Norwegian.
Ooh.
One of them, it was like, yeah, this language has 16 genders. And I went, nope.
I barely know English.
I think Finnish is a really tough one. Norwegian is somewhat easier for an English speaker because it's got more in common with German. So, like, there's some roots and stuff you'll be able to pick up on. But, like, Finnish is not connected to any language you would ever think to learn to speak.
Yeah, and there's, like, some Finnish words when you look at them, you're like, I don't know how you would even phonetically say that. But it's because you don't know how to pronounce, even though those letters look familiar to you, they are not spoken the way that you know that they are spoken in your language. It's wild. Like that, I think it was in Finland where the dude reads the town name that's like 100 and something letters long. He just walks pointing at it, just reading the word phonetically out as he goes. And it was wild. And I'm like, wow, imagine having to like write a letter and having to write that every time on the front of it. There would be no room.
There's a really long town name in Wales, actually, and I'm going to go... I looked it up just so I could try to read it off. Excuse my pronunciation to the one Welsh listener that we didn't already drive off, but I'm going to give it my best shot. It's,
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, could you use that in a sentence?
Yeah, I want to go to Landfair. I'm not pronouncing the rest of it this time.
Just one other thing that's on my thing. I think I figured out what game I'm gonna put up there for our month, or for my month. I mean, I loaded up Battle Chef Brigade last night. I was looking in my.
Can you repeat that title? Battle
Chef Brigade.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. I just wanted to make sure that I heard it right.
Yeah, I tend to mumble sometimes. That's my bad. Yeah.
I just couldn't tell if you were saying Battleship and I just heard it wrong, or if you said Battle Chef.
Oh no, Battle Chef Brigade.
You think my Battle Chef.
That was one of the. Oi! He hit me with the onions and potatoes. There was nothing we could do.
I've sprung a leak.
But I was looking through my Steam, and I was like looking for something to play last night after I had beaten Portal. Or no, I'm sorry, I hadn't beaten Portal. I beat Portal today, but I was like just looking for something to play before bed. And one of the first games I got on Switch was Battle Chef Brigade, and I love the shit out of it. And I loaded it up on PC and started playing it, and it's still awesome. And in my library, I actually saw where recently both Tyler and Dave, shout out Tadbog, Tyler and Dave Play Old Games. Good podcast. Check those guys out. Both of those guys have added it to their library recently. I don't think either of them are listening to this. I think, well, maybe Dave. So if you're listening, either of you, I absolutely recommend that you check out Battle Chef Brigade. It's like a, how do you describe it? It's like Iron Chef. You have to do these like Iron Chef things where there's literally a guy and like the judges tell you like what flavors they're looking for. So it's when you're cooking, it's like a match 3 thing. But then when you go to get ingredients, you go into the arena, quote unquote, and there's a bunch of enemies and stuff. And then it's like a beat 'em up almost, where you have like a little blade and you have to kill the monsters and gather your ingredients.
That sounds neat.
It's cool. It's a cool little game. But like they have the secret ingredient, where they'll be like, all right, this secret ingredient is boom, and it'll be like tomatoes, even though they're called something else. So you have to include those in your meal, or you'll get points taken away. But then there's also a storyline to it, and it's cute. I like it. I enjoy it a lot.
That's fun. Sounds really fun. I'd like to give that a shot sometime.
And I think it would be an interesting little indie. And I think like throwing that out there first will make it easier for me to throw an RPG out next time it's my choice to pick one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like the long games quotient is really just going to come to what we get voted for, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel it's just, can you use a long game? Sure, but if we just had one, it's going to be like, No,
I agree with that. I think it depends on game style too.
I'm saying that would be your consideration.
Oh yeah, I think it would be the style of game too. Like going from a JRPG to a Western RPG, not as big of a deal as going from the same genre to a same genre. Like even if we played a horror game and then got another horror game, by the end of that, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm tired of jump scares. Let's play something else. You know that.
Yeah, but like you said, there's a big difference between going from Dragon Quest to going to Skyrim, you know?
Yeah, massive difference. So I think...
I accidentally do the quest sometimes in Dragon Quest. It's all side quests and goofing around all the time in Skyrim, baby!
Well, gentlemen, I think that brings us to the topic of this week. We played some Portal 2. I did not think it would come up this soon on the list, but it did. And I gotta say that I'm happy that it did. First impressions, gentlemen. When you loaded it up, what was your first impression going into it after still having the first game fresh on your minds?
Well, dude, honestly, it was just exciting to go back into that world because it was so much fun the first time. I was like, man, there's no way they're going to make this bad. So just going back into the Portal world and waking up there and then immediately getting hit with the Portal sense of humor and massively, honestly, improved graphics when I didn't even have a problem with the first game's graphics. I was just like, wow, this looks amazing. It sounds great. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go.
I thought they both had really clean art styles, so I don't know if I saw this one as a huge improvement in the graphics. I think it executed really well, though. The main thing I really liked was, every voice in the first game, except for the anger sphere, is Ellen McLean. So hearing a new voice right up at the start of the game is a great way of saying, like, hey, you're going to see something different this time around. And I thought that was, real cool.
And speaking of the voices, we can find out who they are with this week's obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. Portal 2.
We never have a smooth transition to that.
Never.
What the hell, dude?
Never. And that was probably the smoothest transition that we've had, yeah.
Indeed.
Portal 2 is a 2011 puzzle platform video game developed by Valve for Windows, Mac operating system, Linux, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. The digital PC version is distributed online by Valve's Steam service, while all retail editions were distributed by Electronic Arts. Like the original Portal, players solve puzzles by placing portals and teleporting between them. In Portal 2, it adds features such as tractor beams, lasers, light bridges, and paint-like gels that alter the player's movement or allow portals to be placed on any surface. In the single-player campaign, the player controls Chell, who navigates the dilapidated Aperture Science Enrichment Center during its reconstruction by the supercomputer GLaDOS, voiced by Ellen McLean, as was already stated. New characters include the robot Wheatley, voiced by Stephen Merchant, who I will come back to in a second, and Aperture founder Cave Johnson, who was voiced by J.K. Simmons. Now,
Yeah.
let me finish this, and then I have a question about him, too, for you guys as well. In the new cooperative mode, players solve puzzles together as robots Atlas and Peabody, both voiced by D. Bradley Baker, and Jonathan Colton and The National produced songs for the game. Now, we're not going to cover the co-op stuff in this episode, but that is like up for discussion on an upcoming episode sometime, doing the Portal 2 cooperative stuff. And I feel like when we do that, we should hit up our buddy Laxby, and then like that way we can compare runs between 2 and 2. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest it being another episode, honestly, before we even started that, holding off to the end of the episode to bring it up, but I really think a Portal 2 cooperative mode episode would be fantastic, and that might honestly be my next monthly choice.
I feel like because it is a game that we did get pulled and we did get voted for, I think maybe we can use that instead of a short game the next time.
That's not a bad idea at all. It's not a bad idea.
I mean, I get that the conceit is Steamy picks games for us, but Steamy did technically pick this game, and we technically haven't finished it. So
yeah, that's fair.
I like this.
That is fair.
I like this logic.
So my first comment is Stephen Merchant is fucking hilarious, like, as Wheatley. That little fucking thing had me rolling.
Oh yeah.
The whole game.
At first he's just very scatterbrained and bumbling, but it actually ends up making sense later on, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, the way they explained that was really cool, which I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit. But don't throw shade at me. Don't quit the show. Who the fuck is J.K. Simmons?
What? Have you ever seen the old Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire?
Yes.
He was J. Jonah Jameson in that.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's been doing some... He's pretty good in voice acting, too. He played a character that I can't actually say the name of because it's a spoiler, but from the second half of Gravity Falls. He was really good in that role. Like, incredible.
He also does the State Farm commercials.
Just blew my fucking mind. Now I can hear Cave's voice in my head, and I'm like, holy shit, that is exactly who that is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love J.K. Simmons, dude. That guy's freaking fantastic in everything he's in. Like, honestly.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Cave's quips in this game were some of my favorite parts. Like, when you were going through that one section of the game, and Cave Johnson was just not narrating, just, I don't even know what the fuck he was talking about, but man, it was some funny shit.
He's giving instructions over the PA system, and honest to God, I know that the game is really well written in general. Maybe it's just his delivery, but I really do feel like he gets, like, 7 of the 10 funniest lines in the game.
Oh, man. So, like, right off the bat, like you guys said, like Nate said, the graphics to me were like, oh, wow, they stepped it up a bit. And the gameplay was a lot smoother. Like, I felt...
I definitely know. Anytime you're taking a cube through a portal or whatever, it felt a lot less clunky in this game. That's actually something I put in my show notes, like, within an hour of starting.
One of the things that I wrote down is that if the first game was a proof of concept of sorts, kind of just bundled in with the orange box, this definitely showed that they had perfected that concept and then created an actual game with it. Like, if the first one was almost like a tech demo, this delivered on what they were going for. If that makes sense. The first game
is really well written. I love the writing so much, but in gameplay terms, it almost feels like the first 17 puzzles are a tutorial for the 18th puzzle where it finally brings it all together. And this game expects you to already kind of know. And I mean, it still brings in new elements over the course of it. But this felt like, not everyone agrees with me on this game either, but I think this is the Mario Galaxy 2 to Mario Galaxy 1, where they're like, okay, we trust you get the game now. Here's just our best levels.
I could get that. I could see that. I've never played those games, but I get the analogy. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean they did add some new stuff in this, but like everything that they added fit perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, the puzzles were better from the very jump of the game. Just like you start in and you're actually doing things other than just walking through a portal and grabbing a box and then taking it through another portal and setting it down. No, they get you the portal gun really fast. You get into moving into new things. Then you see those light bridges for the first time, which were like a really, really fun addition to this game, where it's like you could actually use two portals to manipulate where a bridge was, and sometimes it was sometimes it was like turned horizontally, so you acted more like a shield, and you could use that with portals to like make sure a turret couldn't shoot you or something like that. Like the way they came up with new mechanics, like not even new mechanics, just new objects that you could interact with the same mechanics. It was just mind blowing how great they put new things in here, and it was so smooth.
How well everything interacted. There wasn't a lot of filler, you know. Everything in the game, not only did it feel like it was there for a reason, but it felt like it built off the other stuff. Like even the gels, like at first they do completely radically different things, so you're like, I don't know if they should all be the same thing. But then when you get them working together and you're using the eraser gel and the bouncy gel and the speed up gel, I don't remember what they're actually called, but you get them all working at once in the same puzzle, and you're like, this only could have worked if they did it this way.
And I also love how, with those gel things, like the technology felt older than the technology used in the main game, which is so brilliant that at that point in the game, you're actually going down to like the old labs for aperture science, and this is the old technology that they were working on like back in the 50s and stuff. And just the way that they used that there, I thought it was such a brilliant idea to use like that older technology in kind of like a past setting.
Yeah, what was it like? War hero, Olympian, or astronaut. Yeah, that Cave Johnson just kept referring to you as down there. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing too. Is that like you didn't hear any of the Cave Johnson in the first game up in the upper areas, but when you fall all the way down towards the bottom, and it's all the old shit like you're talking about, like that's where you start getting the voiceovers like that you would hear in a fucking Fallout game, where it's like the voice over the intercom. And it's like, "Oh, well, hello there. This is Cave Johnson here," and it just sounds straight from 1955.
Because instead of an AI like every character you've met to this point, he's a pre-recorded human voice.
Yeah, that's just looping in different sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it was brilliant because like you've all seen like at least if you haven't seen the actual ones, you've seen like the interpretations in like the 90s of like 50s stuff where they're talking about science, and the way they interpret that in Portal, it's all like exactly how you would expect it to be. It's like the old dude telling like, "Oh, guys are nice young fit men ready for science," and stuff.
It's very Atomic Age, better living through chemistry type optimism, and that's an aesthetic I really love.
Yeah, very well done. Very Cold War.
Yes.
Man, I hate to bring this up again, but if you love that aesthetic, bro, we have got to play a fucking Fallout game.
Oh, for sure.
Oh man. But one thing that I would love to see about this game, and I'm sure that someone who is good at computer programming is going to be like, "You're a fucking idiot," but like, I would love to see a documentary about how they programmed this, how they got it to work, because the way that the portals interact, like for example, the like anti-gravity beams, almost that I would call them. Mm-hmm. I don't really know what else to call them. Like when you would use those, just shooting the portal. I get that like you can shoot a portal A, B, and they can just set up like quote unquote doors, and it just ports you to wherever. I get, but programming it to realize that this anti-gravity portal is coming through it, and you can then ride that through the portal where that is also coming out the other portal, and then you can do something else to make that switch and go back the other way and all. I would just like to know how all of that programming, like if it drove anybody fucking crazy trying to get it to work.
It really feels like they took a lot of effort to make it look that easy. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is so seamless that I've got to think they had to have spent a lot of time banging their heads against some of the edge cases. Yeah,
because it's just wild to me that you can shoot a portal, say, to your left and then one in front of you and then be looking at yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, how did they program that to do that? I don't know if it's just a mirrored image or if it's like they just stick a camera in the other place and reflect it there. I don't really know how. I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me. This is why I'm not a game programmer.
Maybe one day I'll try to goof around in Unity and see how hard it is to craft something like that as a total amateur.
Yeah, report back, because I would love to know. One of my notes, I know we've talked about already, but like this game came out in 2011, and now, granted, PCs have come a long way since then, so it's upscaling resolutions and things like that. But I think even for 2011, this game looked sleek.
It's the art, man. It's such a clean design. It's all based on this iconography that works really well. And even when they did like the retro versions of it, I still thought it had the flavor of. I'm like, it really helps that it's not largely rendering human-looking characters. It's rendering smooth, metallic, glossy areas, but it does so with just there's a certain panache to it that everything feels like it was just. I don't have a lot of complaints is basically what I'm saying. Like, there's so many little things done right that I know that there's a bunch of shit we just didn't even notice they did right, because you'd only notice that kind of thing if they didn't do it, you know?
I one thought that I was having is, man, if they ever did Portal 3, which I'm not holding my breath because they never even did Half-Life 3, which would make them millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, but if they were to ever do a Portal 3, dude, the capacity of the game for ray tracing would be wild, because like the lasers, wet textures, all of this stuff, and there's not like 1,000 cars and people to render. Like you're just worried about this room, so like it wouldn't affect the PC's hardware. You know, you're not trying to do ray tracing for an entire living city, like say Cyberpunk or something like that. But you know, in these condensed rooms, like I really think that could be next level. Like, and even if they were to just patch it into Portal 2, you know what I mean, which is doable. I'm sure it's hard, but it's doable. I think that would be wild, and would really add another level to just how good the game looks, and maybe even the gameplay. Like, what if you had to do puzzles based on reflection and things like, you know? See, this is why I want to be on storyboard, not programmers, because I just want to be like, hey, this is an idea I had. See if you can make it work. Thanks. Like, here's $100,000. Y'all just go see what you can do.
I will take the $100,000. I won't close any of my open braces or anything. It's all going to get messed up, but I'll try.
It would be cool. One of the things that got me, and this is dumb, and we'll get to more of the puzzles themselves in a minute, but like the way GLaDOS at one point goes potato or whatever it made my entire fucking day. Just like however she said, she's like, I was how did she word it? She was like, you tried to kill me twice, then put me into a potato, then a bird stole me, and she was just running through all these things that had happened, and it was just absolutely hilarious.
She puts equal stress on every syllable. It's not potato, it's potato.
Yeah, potato. like a robot would.
It's so good.
So basically, when you start off, correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory is shit sometimes. You're running through and you meet Wheatley. After maybe the first puzzle or two.
No, you meet
Wheatley before you leave the opening room.
Okay, yeah. So he's telling you that you're gonna break out. You're gonna get out of here. And then he is a fucking idiot though, which you realize right off the bat. Like, oh, this is not the brightest robot in the bunch.
He comes off as a charming bumbler kind of.
Oh yeah, he totally. I give you charming.
Dent.
Kind of, yeah. I almost thought, is he incompetent or is he just British and very apologetic?
He's leading you, trying to get you out. He ends up taking you right through the room where you killed GLaDOS in the first game, which I thought was a cool callback.
Yeah.
Definitely a cool callback. And he's like, well, don't worry. She's not awake. She's not awake. As long as and then you go in this room. Now, you guys can fill in blanks here, because like I said, my memory shit sometimes. But like, you go into the room where you just look up and you're looking around and there's just nothing but these switches.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere. And he's like, okay, as long as we don't switch any of these on, we just need to find the one that turns off the nerve gas or whatever the fuck it was. And there's only one switch you can hit. So you hit that switch and the elevator just starts going up. And as you go up, it is flipping every switch on as it goes up. And he's like, oh no. Oh no. Oh, this is not good. Oh, this is not good, but this is not good at all. And then GLaDOS ends up coming alive. Now, I'm missing things if you guys want to fill in blanks here.
That kind of seems roughly it for that part of the game, I feel like.
Close enough approximation, good. At least, for me.
Except I think Wheatley ends up flipping the switch when you jack him into the computer. I don't think you do anything wrong. It's all him.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. But once GLaDOS...
Maybe you hit a switch, dum-dum.
Because when you're on the way there, he's like, do you know who finally beat GLaDOS? A human, just like you. Oh, man, he's like, who'd have thought, supercomputer beat by a human. No offense, of course. It's all this type of shit.
Yeah.
And then once GLaDOS revives, she's like, oh, it's you. I remember you, or whatever the hell. And Wheatley finds out, oh, you're the one that killed. Oh, man. Oh, who'd have thought? I love his accent. Like, the British listeners are probably rolling their fucking eyes at me right now, but
probably.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, from that point, you kind of like GLaDOS kind of takes over from that situation on, and you're kind of doing GLaDOS puzzles once again, and it just every time you do a puzzle, GLaDOS just has a new quip for you from every room to room, and GLaDOS from the first game to this game turns into like just kind of like from the first game she's just kind of a mean vindictive robot to absolute turbo dick to you at every possible level and turn she can be.
Yeah, she's like, you killed me.
And
you're fat. Like,
yeah, even the way she's mean in this game is like I said, it was very Mean Girls when I was making notes, because it's like in the first game she was kind of professional about it. In this game, she's like, in as almost acceptable wording as she can find to say it, she's just like, you're fat and adopted and a terrible person.
Dude, I feel like she at one point calls you like fatty fat no parents or something like that. Like, it's just it's just hilarious, dude. And then the one part where she's like, actually, we're gonna call your parents, and she dials the number, and it's like goes to the voicemail, and it's like, we're sorry, these people do not love their child. Please call back another time. And she's like, oh, that's impressive. One of them must have worked at the phone company. Like, it's just fucking God, the writing is so good. And it's not. I wonder if the writing is so good because they don't have to write for 100 characters. They're writing for like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? And that way,
yeah, it's more expansive than the first game in terms of like now it's not just one character that speaks. There's like several, but it's still they really, I don't know, took a fine. Again, I praised the writing in the first game. I'll say the same about this one. It's extremely good, like comedy writing. Extremely good at putting the implications in there to where before they tell you something, you know about it. And even little things like the posters on the wall and stuff like that. The little details are just magnificent.
Yeah.
To your point, I think that, the having less characters to write for gives you the ability to do a slightly better job at writing those particular characters because you're not having to worry about them interacting with everybody else or how this character would react to said thing from this other character. But even with that being the case, the writing is still just so on point the whole time. It's like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I played this with a controller up until chapter 7, I believe. And there was this one puzzle in particular where it was actually the one I was telling you guys in chat that I had gotten stuck on, and that's where I quit last night. I was like, I quit to go play guitar for a while, and then came back 5 minutes later, figured out exactly what I needed to do. But I switched to mouse and keyboard because what I thought I needed to do required such fucking precision that I could not do it with the controller.
Yeah, I also played with the controller, but there were a couple points where I would just like switch my right hand from my controller to my mouse just to make a little bit more precise aiming. But yeah, other than that, I didn't have any issues with the controller, but there's definitely a lot to be said for being able to aim with a mouse.
Yeah, and I think that's going to show more in like the first-person shooter type games. But this game in particular, yeah, there were some moments where that precision was necessary. You know what I mean? And I feel like maybe if you wonked with the not resistance, the rotation sensitivity. Thank you. Yes, sensitivity. That it might help a little bit with that, but then you don't want it overly sensitive because then you're jumping all over the place, and yeah, it's just I think I like this. Now, Willie, did you play this controller? Did you do this mouse and keyboard?
No, a keyboard mouse.
Yeah. Okay. So you're probably like fucking controller users, precision all day.
No, because I think that maybe doing it on a controller might tempt you less to try to do hyper precise things that don't quite work. Because I feel like in the first game there were a couple puzzles that had really tight timing, and for the most part in this one it felt more like you had to line everything up very well, but the actual execution wasn't as hard.
So
Like, in fact, I would say of the puzzle design in this game, especially compared to the first, a lot of the time when I got stuck on a puzzle, it's because I didn't think to either look directly above me or behind me and see that there was a wall I could have portaled. Like, that was my hugest problem.
I just realized something that was missing in this game that was in the first game. The little bouncing ball of fire or whatever that you have to, like, direct with portals into, like, little holes.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that kind of got replaced by the hard light bridges and the gels. And
like, the lasers that you could adjust with the special box to where they aimed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool mechanic,
The laser kind of does everything that does.
I also liked, there was that one puzzle where you got dropped in and you had to, like, destroy, like, 30 different turrets, and you had to use this light box and just blast them with this laser that set them all on fire and they blew up. Now,
so good.
The puzzle that got me the hardest, the one I was telling you that I switched over to mouse and keyboard with, was you went in and there was like a little indented area into the ground, subbed down a little bit, and it was the metallic slime, the metal slime goo coming out, right? That you could blast portals on. I call it metal slime goo because it was. Yeah, it gives you a lot of experience per portal. Yeah, you're gonna be level 100 by the time you get out of there. That one. You had to make your way up, and I could not figure out. So there was this tower, and on the top of that tower is where you needed to get.
Yeah, that was rough.
And then a little farther away from that was a platform that was angled, like you could jump up to the top of that tower. So I shot an orange portal on the almost at the top of the roof because I covered this entire place floor in the goo. I think I even got like a fucking achievement for it.
The first thing I did was that too. Just absolutely drench the place just in case.
So I shot a portal up there, and I shot a portal under myself. So I come out of that portal, and then come down, and I would shoot another portal, which would make me fly out of it faster. At that point, I was trying to fly through the air, aim at that square, shoot a portal there, and then turn back to shoot a portal where I was about to land. And I could not get it to work, and it was driving me absolutely fucking insane. Till I realized that I could use that goo up the two fucking
towers.
The towers.
Yeah. That took me so long to figure out, man.
Portal up there, then put a portal at the bottom, jump into that, fly out, get up to where I needed to go, and oh my god. That portal, that about broke me. That puzzle almost broke me.
That was like, so literally hard to figure out, because I just didn't recognize that those two towers were there and that I could spray the walls of those towers. Like I tried everything kind of one else.
Where you feel like you're making it so hard. You make it so hard on yourself, and then when you finally solve it, you're like, I was such an idiot, but now I am the genius.
And this is a game where I totally put out there, like, if you are getting really frustrated, set it down. Go do something else.
Yeah.
And come back with a fresh mind, and that way you're not trying to do this one thing over and over that's not working. And you'll come back with a fresh perspective and be like, okay, well, how am I going to attack this now? Because I did that 2 different times in this game, and both times when I came back after an hour, I beat the puzzle in 5 minutes. You know, there
are a lot of puzzles where it tries to trick you into making it harder than it is, and that's definitely one of them.
Especially towards the end, once Wheatley's taken over, and it's explained that Wheatley was programmed to be stupid.
So yeah, we should probably get back to the story then. As it turns out, Wheatley was basically the idiot core. He was definitely programmed just to basically make mistakes. I don't remember why that was the case. But so when he ends up taking over, you eventually beat GLaDOS and switch him out for Wheatley. Because Wheatley promises, I'm gonna free you guys and all that. And it turns out that body kind of gives you some megalomaniacal, crazy mind. And so the moment Wheatley takes over, he's like, oh, I'm gonna start testing you. You're stuck here forever.
Yeah, and it's so funny because he sticks GLaDOS's core, her entire body, to be powered by a potato. That's where the whole potato thing came from.
So you're carrying her around with you, and of course she's kind of complaining, but she's also kind of like, she realizes she ain't anything right now, so she kind of gets a little meeker than she was before.
And before you even start carrying her around, she gets stolen by a fucking bird, and then you have to find her and get her out of the bird's nest.
Yeah. And like, so basically once Wheatley takes over, he starts screwing things up immediately, and you end up falling down into like the old Aperture Science labs, which is where you start getting into all that 1950s type stuff we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty long segment. I really enjoyed it. The one thing is, I was so used to the modern iconography that occasionally I would miss clues just because I was not used to the aesthetic in that area. Like, at one point there was a button that was inset in a wall, and I just didn't see that button until I closed the game and came back to it.
I had a lot of trouble with that, the puzzle that you were talking about in chat that you got stuck on, which is, I know, is a little later in the game, I think.
Yeah, that one's a tricky one, though.
But you had to drop blue goo, which is bouncy. Blue goo is the bouncy. Orange goo is the speed goo. And then the metallic goo lets you shoot a portal on a surface that wouldn't normally let you shoot a portal there.
See, I saw that as just white goo.
As white? Oh,
I was thinking of it as white.
It looks silver on my screen. Which is why I had the goo and slime correlation thing in my notes, because it was like, oh, okay, so they start off with blue. Then you get orange, but then you end with silver. Like, you get that that metal. Yeah. But that one in particular, so like you get the blue, you have to do the anti-gravity tube of
blue goo,
matter, whatever, and then you run the goop through there, and then you drop it, so where you can then bounce up back into the thing when you do it a second time, go across with the goo, and then you drop out and step on this, or shoot the portal another place so that it can then come across the side. And then you have to shoot another end of the portal over the 3 turrets that are sitting there waiting to kill you. And then you have to stand on the button that reverses it, which makes the goo go through. And then it goes over the turrets, and then you drop it on the turrets. That took me for fucking... I had to look that up on YouTube. I would have never figured that out in my fucking life because I forgot that button reversed it. So
the sticking point for me on that one was just once I put the goo to jump back up, I thought that was all I would need the goo for. It took me forever to realize I would need to shoot a second wave of it and bring it with me.
That took a long time. Like, I agree. That was that and the white puzzle tower one. Those were the 2 hardest ones for me to figure out through the entire game. And it sounds like they were the ones that kind of tripped you guys up too. So we're all the same kind of stupid here.
There was one other one that fucked me up. And it was one of the last puzzles. And it was the one where, like, the wall gets blown out and then... the other side of it, like over here, like you start seeing a separate test chamber where the walls are coming off of it and it moves, and you end up having to hit, like you use the portal thing to bring you the square, which you then take into the little side room through a portal that had the glass wall with the little window, and you put that on there so that the orange goo starts coming out, and then you get the whole where you had to like do the pathway and then shoot your portal over to the other building that you're not even in, way across, and then it does the anti-gravity thing, and then you had to zip and jump over and land in that and go across. Dude, it took me so long to figure out, oh yeah, I can stand on this button and use this portal to get that box over to me. I could not figure out how to get that box for the life of me for like 30 minutes.
You know, now that I'm thinking of the orange goo, I think one of the reasons this game had a little higher puzzle solving difficulty but easier execution difficulty is I think the orange goo kind of stood in for what in the first game was mostly done by dropping down through a portal multiple times. Yeah. And that was usually one of the trickier things to do. In this game, once you have the orange goo and a portal at the end of a runway, you basically have it done. You're locked in.
Yeah, I don't think there was a single time where you had to do the acceleration trick from the first game where you drop through multiple portals on the ground from a high up spot on this game.
No, the only one that I can think of is the one with the turrets that we were talking about, and that's like when you go next to it, you just have to ride the particle beam thing up to the roof and then shoot the other portal on the little angled portal thing next to you and then just drop down and shoot out. But that's not the same as going through them, like trying to cycle, like I was trying to do for that one puzzle where you're
I tried to do the same thing there too, Dalton.
I dead-ended on that with several puzzles.
And it's just using that Portal 1 thing, trying to figure out how to just beast your way through it, and it's like, nah, man, you need to be a little more logical this time around. I don't have much else to say about the game other than it's fucking tremendous. Like, so if you guys have any other notes or anything that you want to touch on, please, by all means.
I think the only other thing to really do is kind of finish covering the story beats of the game, where you would, like, once you get through the 1950s thing, you can finally get back up to where you're in Wheatley's realm, and basically you end up confronting Wheatley up there, and you have to do a similar fight you did in the first game of Portal, where you fought GLaDOS except for this time GLaDOS is helping you, trying to get bad cores onto Wheatley so that the system will basically reject Wheatley. And then at the end, you have to shoot a portal at the moon.
Yes.
And you know what's funny is I knew that was coming, but yet I had forgotten about it. So like when it happened, I went, "Oh yeah, I know what to do here." Bloop. And apparently they did some research where they did the math for how long it would take a light particle beam, like that shoots out of that thing, to get to the moon. So that's why when you shoot it, there's a delay before you hear
really
that
cool.
ting, and then everything starts happening. It's like they didn't want to make that immediate because that wouldn't be realistic. Like in a game about interdimensional portals, that would just be too far.
Yeah, and so basically you end up going into under the moon with Wheatley holding on to you, and Wheatley's head's out there with you, and you have to basically get saved by GLaDOS.
Yeah, you attach her back to the
surprised.
mainframe. And the way this boss fight went, instead of like in GLaDOS where you're like busting pieces of her and dropping them into
it's literally the opposite.
It's the opposite. You take dumb, rejected, fucked up, corrupted cores, and you have to bounce up with the goo and stick them on her, or stick them on Wheatley after you have hit him with a bomb that he thinks he's protected from, but like he protects everywhere but this one area where you just have to strategically put a portal. I
love the stupid cores in this one too. I loved the cores at the end of the first game, and the core that was just really excited to go to space. And goofy.
I'm in space.
The space core gets to go to space. That made me happy. That was like the adventurer one, and then the fact one that's only reading off insanely wrong facts, like how it's illegal to look at the queen because you might steal her thoughts.
Space.
I'm in space. Yeah, you are, bud. You are. We're both in space. Yes.
That's a pretty good Wheatley right there. That was pretty good. And then Wheatley's also all apologetic in space, like, I do regret what I've done.
I do want to say that GLaDOS, you do put her back in charge, because Wheatley, like the whole place is gonna fucking blow up because he's programmed to be an idiot and he doesn't know how to fix everything that's going wrong. So he's just like, oh no, it's fine. But the chapter 9 joke is absolutely hysterical. Yeah. Where like you load into the level and GLaDOS is like, this is the part where he kills us, and he's like, this is the part where I'm going to kill you, and then it pops up chapter 9, the part where he kills
you. And then you get an achievement if this is your first time playing it on Steam that pops up saying, this is the one where he kills you.
Like they put that in as many times as they could, and I was just howling with laughter at that.
A super good joke, super well placed.
Yeah, and then I also was impressed that at the end I thought my game crashed, but then realized that's just like how it ends. Because like when at the very end, Wheatley's floating there in space, his little buddy's floating around with him, and he's talking about how he would apologize for letting it go to his head and all of that, and he goes, "Oh, no, I guess this is the end," and the game just shut off, like closed out. My Steam thing popped up and it said no longer playing and all that. It had stopped, and I was like, oh damn. So I guess that was the end. The game just shut itself the fuck off. It was interesting.
Although I do like if you return to the game, the title screen now has Wheatley floating in space.
Does it? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I should have checked because I remember in the first game after you beat it, when you go back, there's just the cake.
The cake. Yeah.
Which the ending, the very ending when they let you when GLaDOS tells you,
oh yeah,
I'm not going to kill you. I just want you to go the fuck away. So you can leave. Just get the fuck out of here. And she sends you up, and the doors open, and you're in the middle of this field, and you turn around, and you see the little shack that you came out of. Then the door opens again, and out spits the companion cube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the door shuts again, and then it goes to black. And that's when I think it cuts to Wheatley up in space. But just the fact that they were like, here's your fucking companion cube, too, that all of you got so attached to from that one fucking puzzle. Like, really.
It had scorch marks on it, too, so that may have been the one you put in the incinerator.
It was amazing to me how much the internet made me think that I was going to have to carry that cube through the entirety of Portal. And it was one puzzle. One. Like, the cube is a lie. Fuck the cake. The cube is a lie. I will say, did not enjoy the song at the end of this one as much as I did Still Alive from the first one, but still was a funny song.
Yeah, it was still good, but Still Alive is just iconic at this point. And like, at least they did bring back Jonathan Colton to write the second song as well, which I think continuity is good there.
And dude, I'll be at work just washing dishes and be like, maybe Black Mesa, that was a joke, haha, fat chance. It's just so good. So good. And it also makes me want to play Half-Life to see if there's any Aperture Science jokes in Half-Life like there are in Portal making fun of Black Mesa.
Maybe by the time they got to the episodes, they might have thought of doing it anyway.
That's what I was thinking. It might be maybe more along the lines like Half-Life 2 episode whatever, which I know they never even ended those. Like, those ended on a cliffhanger and never got wrapped up. I don't know what it is. Like, they just...
Cave Johnson specifically name checks Black Mesa, too.
Yeah, that's right. He's stealing my technology. Black Mesa. Which is the gravity gun that he's referring to, right? Yeah. That's what I thought.
That makes sense, yeah.
I'm trying to think of other things towards the end that just... This one didn't seem to have a crescendo puzzle. Like, I didn't get that, like, the first game, how that last puzzle, like, threw everything in. It was kind of like... This game was more gradual with it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There were some definite thinkers there at the very end, like we talked about. And then even getting to the final area when you're having to navigate these big hallways where you're just floating and hoping that you could hit the portal and then fall back into the floating area.
I think that this game did a better job of spreading out the difficulty between the sections, and I think it didn't need necessarily that one big crescendo of a moment like the first game had. But I do think this one had some, like what you said, like when you're actually running from Wheatley right after he tries to kill you for the first time. I think that's kind of like the section in Portal where... And it's much better executed than the section in Portal where you're running from just trying to get to GLaDOS in the first Portal game. I feel like those kind of scenes were analogous, and I think they were handled much better in Portal 2. It was a lot easier to navigate where you were going and not as confusing as to where to go next. And so I just think that was actually just an improvement Portal 2 made over Portal 1.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that it was paced a lot better. Like, instead of occasionally hearing GLaDOS say, like, you're going the wrong way, you get active feedback constantly. You get more of what you love about the game, which is the writing, at least for me. So, like...
No, come back. Come back here. Come back. I know you're coming back. I know you're coming back. Oh, man. Do you remember, like, back when we were friends, all that time ago, and I would have said, like, go, come back here, and you would have, like, come back? Like, do you remember that? I guess those times are gone now. God. Like... Fantastic. I give this 10 out of 10 Wheatleys, dude. It was like, for what they were trying to execute, like for this style of game, they perfected it. I wouldn't say that this is one of my favorite games ever, so don't get that wrong by my ranking, but I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and I don't know how it could be improved without being a sequel with more things that are brought up in today's day. But for a game from 2011... This game was everything it needed to be and more. Personally,
I can't wait till I've forgotten all the puzzles and half the jokes so I can play it again. I gave a 10 out of 10 to the first game, saying it was a perfect game, and all I've had to say about this game was that I thought in pretty much every way it was an improvement. So it would kind of be silly for me to give it less than a 10 out of 10, I guess.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I was so blown away by Portal being my first experience with Portal that I also gave it a 10 out of 10, and I do also think that this game is better in every single way. So it'd be really stupid not to give it 10 companion cubes out of 10 cakes. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, fair. Very fair.
That's Division by Zero.
And for big Portal fans, like I said, we're going to do the multiplayer part at some point. Probably have our buddy Laxby on for that. And then also, Nate brought to my attention that on Steam, there is a free mod that you can access. You can just download it straight from the Steam store, called Portal Reloaded, that we added to the list as well, which I haven't really looked into, but I think it's just more of the same. It's just made by fans of Portal instead of the guys that...
Well, I think they also added another dimension to the Portals of Time as well, which is going to be interesting to see how that's handled.
Ooh, little Prince of Persia crossover.
Could be. So yeah, I think it's important to know that we've all enjoyed Portal so much that we just don't want it to be done yet, so we're finding excuses to do more episodes on Portal in the future.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And it's like, if we're ever having an off day or two or whatever, you know what I'm saying, you could just like, you know what, dude, let's just play some Portal mods. Oh, hold on. Is Willie a plane? Are we doing?
Yeah, there's airplanes flying overhead. It's going to be really.
I couldn't hear it over the Discord calls.
Yeah, I couldn't.
You won't hear it on Discord. You'll hear it on the recording.
I thought you immediately got ported to a Bethesda game because you were T-posing. So I was like, oh god.
You finally awake.
One of my mods broke Willie.
I know Dalton's so into his mods one day it's just going to break reality.
Right. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I just haven't had the gumption to play Skyrim. It's ready to go with my new mod pack sitting there, and I've played it some, but I'm thinking I need a break from Elder Scrolls-esque style stuff, play some other RPG games, and then come back to it so I can really appreciate it.
Totes.
Let's see. Next week, our game was chosen by one Nate, Mr. Cogsworth. Sir, would you like to tell everybody the game that you have chosen?
Yep.
I
think we kind of mentioned on the last 2 episodes that also, but once more time, next episode we will be talking about Gato Roboto. It's a really cool game that I recommend you guys check out. I probably will get around to streaming this one because it kind of fits my stream aesthetic, so I'm happy to get this one in on stream too.
Awesome.
Stream that one on Sunday because I don't want to watch it on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think Sunday definitely makes the most sense, so that's probably when I'll stream it, but I might play the game 2 times before we record.
Yeah, I look forward to checking it out, man, because it's one that aesthetically has jumped out at me on my list before, like seeing the cover of it, and you've talked so highly about it that I'm interested in checking it out and seeing what it's all about. Because I mean, you got me to play Hollow Knight, and I didn't expect to like that as much as I did. So this one, we'll see how it goes. I look forward to it.
Hell yeah.
Right now, the show poll is neck and neck tied, my good gentlemen, with Octopath Traveler and Doom. If I had to so if I get to be the tiebreaker, if there is a tiebreaker, I'm going to pick Doom. I'm just going to throw that out there for everybody. Just because we just came off a big JRPG, and I don't want to disappoint anybody who's voted for Octopath, because that's a game that I also really would like to play and beat. I've played through some of it on my Switch, but I would like to actually beat it. But that would be another long game, at least 2 episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
At least. So I'm hoping that Doom comes through it, but if it stays tied, I'll have to break the tie. Whatever.
It's Dalton shit. He makes the rules.
After whichever one is next voted on, I would like to do it completely random.
Sounds good.
Just completely random. And then jump back into voting, and then I believe it'll be either my turn to pick a game or Willie. We'll decide that off air. We'll have a wrestling match, and Nate can be the ref, and whoever gets the pinfall victory, 2 out of 3 falls, will be the one who gets to choose. And I'm bringing steel chairs and a ladder. So
very cocky of you to think you're going to get a pinfall instead of me tapping you out.
Devon, get the tables, motherfucker.
I just want to point out that Dalton thinks he's going to win a wrestling match where I'm the referee and his opponent is my brother.
Yeah, I just watched Kane chokeslam Undertaker out of nowhere today on Raw from way back in the day, so it's possible. It's possible.
It's also possible that under my nice ref shirt, I have a pair of brass knuckles just ready.
Okay, William Regal. The old power of the punch. Man. Let's see. If you would like to support the show, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. Come donate $1. Be cool like all these other people that are part of the Patreon. Again, shout out to Dr. Matt Barton, who joined today. If you want to be cool like him, donate $1. Just $1. You get the beginning bullshit before I edit in the music and all of that. All of our beginning. Today, you'll get to hear 20 minutes of us talking about food. And cheese and all kinds of different charcuteries, if you will.
Also, now that I think about it, statistically speaking, our Patreon donors have a much higher chance than average of talking to John Romero. I can't say there's a cause and effect, but
that's true. That's true. In some wild way, that is actually true.
I mean, you love those numbers. You got to gamble, baby.
But also, you'll get the episodes right when I'm done editing, instead of releasing on Thursday. So that's like another thing I'm trying to do, just like for a little bit of Patreon incentive. So like today we're recording on Tuesday, so it'll probably be it's actually Wednesday now that I'm looking right now at the time. So you'll get it today instead of tomorrow on Patreon. But that's up to you. But we would appreciate your $1, or if you want to give more, whatever floats your boat, we would appreciate it. Also, the website. Check out the website, steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com. I'll say that one more time because I don't think I said that very clearly. The steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com. There's links on there to the Facebook, the Twitter for the show, which I need to give y'all access to like those if you want to fuck around and post memes and stuff. Also, there's a link to the Patreon. There's a link to the Discord. Come join the Discord.
Yes, please come join the Discord. That's where you get to vote for the next game we play. It's where you get to come have chats with us goofballs. A lot of us have been talking about playing games like No Man's Sky lately, so there might be chances for us to all get together and play games. So come join the Discord so you can be a part of that community. We'd love to have you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love to see you come in and join in on the fun. Also, there are links to all 3 of our Twitches on there. Mine hasn't been active for probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months now. Sorry about that. Willie streams about as often as I do these days, but Nate, my good sir, streams twice a week, and I want you to tell everybody about that real quick, my brother.
Yeah, man, just come follow me on twitch.tv/TurtleBearMan. I stream mostly retro games. Lately, I've been streaming through Metroid for the NES after coming off a long streak of streaming Dragon Quest III. So, and hopefully this Sunday, I will, assuming I'm available, I might actually have plans this Sunday, but if I am available on Sunday, I will be streaming Gato Roboto. Nice.
And I still have a suggestion to watch you play Stanley in the Search for Dr. Livingston at some point.
Gotcha. I got you, bro.
Yeah. Willie, is there anything that you would like to plug? You bearded son of a bitch.
I might stream God of Roboto this week. I haven't decided if I'm going to stream it or just play it. But it seems like a fun game, and from my understanding, it's kind of short and lightweight. So it might be one of those ones where I wouldn't mind streaming, and I wouldn't be worried about backseating because I understand it's not a particularly long or difficult one.
It's not. It's just a fun, short Metroidvania
cool,
that I don't think is too difficult to figure out.
If you decide to do that, we'll pop it out there on the social medias and the Discords and the all of that jazz, and let people know that they can come catch you and watch you stream. So
you still there, Dalton?
I'm gonna keep talking here for a second because both of you have frozen on my screen. So in fact, because I think it's fucking up, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Thank you for joining this week of Steam Machine Podcast. As always, they are Nate and Willie. I'm Dalton. Take it easy, guys.
Okay. It's over. Just end this.
Oh.
Dalton's just going to record an outro. We'll be good. Just close out of Audacity.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, I'll stop and record it.
Love you,
Have a good evening.